So I think this is a really important topic because I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with, and I don't think I ever realized until I was, kind of working in the medical field that this is actually something that can be prevented, or at least the symptoms reduced through non-medicinal ways. So you'll learn a little bit more about that as we get going. And, I'm looking at this from the perspective of functional medicine, which is treating the root cause. And this is something that you should always think about when you receive any diagnosis. What is the root cause? You're asking the question, why? Why are these symptoms occurring? What's causing them? Rather just accepting that it's genetic or something that you have to live with or you have to treat. There is another way, and it's through nutrition and lifestyle changes. Absolutely, 100%. So there's two major categories of arthritis, and like I said, people typically think it's an inevitable disease as we age, and we actually don't know the full cause of arthritis at this time, but we do know that more and more young people are being diagnosed with arthritis. So what that tells us is that it's more highly linked to diet and lifestyle in our environment than we ever previously knew. So if you're looking to reduce your symptoms or decrease them, or maybe not have to use as much medicine, you're looking in the right place, because absolutely this is possible. So, just a little background, itis, inflammation. So my last name is Nemunitis, and people are always like, that sounds like a disease. Well, it kind of does, because itis is a medical term for inflammation. And this is just our body's natural response to anything. So say you fall, scrape your knee, your blood starts clotting, and it eventually becomes a scab. So inflammation is a good thing, and it's a healthy thing. But when we have chronic inflammation, constant, that doesn't resolve or go away, this is when our health starts to deteriorate or suffer, and or in this case, our joints, right? So arthritis is chronic inflammation throughout the body. So you have inflammation, the only logical and effective treatment would be to fight that inflammation, reduce that inflammation. So like I said, we want to look at the root causes here. So these are the root causes that can cause arthritis. Leaky gut. If you want to know more about leaky gut, you can look back on my gut health presentation. I'll touch on it again later here, but it's a really interesting subject. So this is more with rheumatoid arthritis, but essentially we have these little outpourings in our intestines and our guts that can open up due to a variety of different causes, but this allows everything that's passing through our digestive system to be opened up to the rest of our body. So bacteria, pathogens, all of that stuff going into the rest of our body. This causes a ton of different side effects, from arthritis to brain fog to digestive distress, whatever the case, lots of different things. So this is a really interesting root cause of arthritis. So there's bacterial or parasitic infections, hormone imbalances, fatty acid imbalances, nutritional deficiencies, and oxidative stress, which could be from environmental factors as well as something you're ingesting. So real quick, in case you guys don't know what these two are, osteoarthritis is something that initially we thought it was just due to obesity or age, but what we're actually learning is that that's not exactly the case. So there's inflammation at different parts of the body due to visceral fat. So this is the fat stored around your organs, your muscles, kind of like that beer belly you see in men. That's the visceral fat. So now it's been considered part of metabolic syndrome and related to high insulin, high blood sugar. So if you're someone who maybe has family history of diabetes or high blood sugars or diabetes right now, chances are that you could potentially be at risk for osteoarthritis. But good news, can be reversed with food and lifestyle changes. And then rheumatoid arthritis. This one, I'm not going to go through this whole slide. You can read this if you want to. But essentially, rheumatoid arthritis is linked to that leaky gut that we talked about. So undigested foods and bacteria enter your bloodstream, and it causes an immune attack on itself. Your body, like the red sirens are going off, your body's like, what the heck is going on? There's all this stuff that I don't want, so it starts attacking itself, and that's what causes rheumatoid arthritis. And it's something that actually is pretty hard to diagnose. A lot of times you don't test positive for certain rheumatoid factors, but you do others, so it can be really debilitating and really confusing and hard to treat. So what treatments do we typically use? Well, there's of course pharmacological. So there's typically like NSAIDs and other anti-inflammatory drugs. But the problem with these is that they turn off your body's immune system, or they might temporarily reduce the inflammation, but over time they're going to contribute to additional leaky gut and more inflammation. So we don't want to have to turn to pharmacological methods permanently if possible. So the other two, which I'm going to talk about, lifestyle changes and supplements and herbs.
Could we do yoga would help?
Absolutely. And
okay,
I will, did I touch on that one yet? No,
yeah,
I didn't.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, you're okay. So leaky gut, like I touched on before, it's increased intestinal permeability. So if you see these little gut cells over here on the right-hand side, normally they're kind of stitched together, very, very tiny, like millimeter stitch in between those. So when something causes that stitching to break apart, those things that are passing through your digestive tract, undigested food and food particles are passing into your bloodstream. So this increases inflammation and the immune attack. And this is caused by a variety of different things: stress, dysbiosis, infection, gluten, zonulin, which comes from bread, inflammation from ulcerative colitis, on and on and on, lots of things. So in my gut health presentation, I went over this 5R protocol for healing your gut. So if you want to learn more about that, look into that, especially if you have rheumatoid arthritis. I would go back and watch that presentation, and I included some of that stuff from here, but that's just like a whole presentation in itself. So there are specific foods you can eat that either make inflammation worse or improve it. And one of the first to help improve it is antioxidants, right? So we talked about those free radicals that cause oxidative stress and damage to your DNAs and your cells. So these foods you want to consume to essentially heal that. Antioxidants not only decrease inflammation, but they heal and remove those damaged cells. So here are some sources. We've got black cherries, strawberries, red onions, a lot of those really colorful foods that you think of that you think are healthy. And anti-inflammatory foods, antioxidants, they're in almost all fruits and vegetables. So here, obviously, I'm focusing on the ones that are highest in those nutrients, but all fruits and vegetables are great for you. So these are some highly anti-inflammatory foods, and I'm going to tell you why. So first, we've got the omega-3 fatty acids. So these are the salmon. I always tell men, especially over the age of 45, salmon at least once a week, or another fatty fish, or you should be taking a fish oil supplement. So omega-3 acids, they reduce inflammation by suppressing the enzymes that cause inflammation and erode cartilage. So salmon, herring, mackerel, sardines, anchovies, put some flax seeds in your smoothie, or maybe like seaweed on a tuna bowl. Beans can't go wrong. So there's a ton of great sources of these. And like I said, you can supplement as well, but of course, food first always. You always want to try to get your food sources of nutrients if you can. And then there's extra virgin olive oil. So you want to do the extra virgin because it's the first press of the olive, so it's the most highly nutritious. This contains polyphenol, an antioxidant, and which, like we said, kills off those free radicals. So use this instead of butter when you're cooking, or in salad dressings. I actually just had a salad for lunch, and I made my dressing super easy. Took 1 second. It was just olive oil, a little bit of Dijon mustard, and red wine vinegar. Easy peasy, simple, but amazing. Oh, and lemon juice, of course. So yeah, use these in your salad dressings. And while I'm here, I'll say that a lot of salad dressings contain canola oil, corn oil, soy oil. Those are highly inflammatory oils. You want to use olive oil or avocado oil. And if you're cooking at a high temperature, so like above 400 degrees, you're going to want to use avocado oil because the olive oil will become rancid. So yes, love olive oil. And then nuts, of course. So like almonds are a great source of these anti-inflammatory foods, walnuts, pistachios. So these also contain vitamin E, magnesium, zinc, fiber, such good stuff. Cherries and berries. Put these in all my smoothies every morning. They contain anthocyanins, which cyan, blue, so typically like blue purpley foods. So like those red onions contain them too, cherries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, all those, they reduce uric acid. So if you also have gout, good thing to include in your diet. Or you can drink black cherry juice, just a small amount though, not a lot. And then pineapple and apple cider vinegar. So absolutely a shot of apple cider vinegar a day, it is great for you. So, and this has actually been found to manage blood sugar levels, cravings, and contributes to weight loss, all kinds of jazz. This is just the best. Then we have garlic and onions. So these improve the symptoms of osteoarthritis because they contain disulfide. So that also slows down the damage of cartilage. And studies have shown that those who eat foods in this family exhibit fewer signs of arthritis and joint pain. So great thing to like throw into a stir fry with your dinner, or I mean, garlic, you can put it in anything, put it in pasta if that's what you're doing. I mean, whatever, anything. And beans, okay, so we've got our bean pasta with our onions and garlic, and maybe some sun-dried tomatoes. In olive oil, I just made a meal for you. So beans, you already know they're high in fiber. And you know, something else I was like thinking about as I was making this presentation, a lot of this advice here is really parallel with my heart health presentation that I did, because all these inflammatory foods or anti-inflammatory foods, inflammation causes distress in your body, which leads to chronic disease. So it's leading to arthritis, it's leading to heart disease, it's leading to diabetes, and it's actually leading to osteoporosis as well. So, you know, this isn't just like a diet for, or not even a diet. These aren't even just recommendations for arthritis. These are really recommendations for a lifestyle of, you know, nutritious foods. And if you're eating these types of food, you know, that's going to manage your weight in itself, which obviously contributes to arthritis as well. So yeah, beans, high in fiber, which we love, which also promotes gut health, lowers C-reactive protein, that inflammatory marker. So those are really good stuff. Citrus fruits, only thing you want to be aware of here is that they do interact with a lot of medication. I believe warfarin specifically, it's a diuretic. So that's something to be aware of, but if you're not on any medications, don't need to worry about it. And then green tea, which is also really high in antioxidants, and you know, also slows that process of cartilage deterioration. So believe it or not, like wrap your head around that, because I feel like so many of us have always just thought like, this was my genetics, this is the way I am, this is the way I live. No, these foods are medicine. These foods will prevent the breakdown of your joints, prevent the buildup of plaques in your arteries, prevent the buildup of sugar in your blood, all those things that contribute to disease. These foods are medicines for that, natural medicines that have no side effects like, you know, some of the medicines that you might be prescribed. So now we're going to get into spices and supplements. So ginger, love pickled ginger. If you like sushi, I always like to eat everyone's pickled ginger that they don't pick up. I also put a ton of ginger in like stir fries. If you guys have had my egg roll in a bowl recipe that you know I'm obsessed with, and you're all obsessed with too, ton of ginger in there. So this ginger is just highly anti-inflammatory. You could also make ginger tea out of it. Then there's turmeric. which is actually amplified if you mix it with black pepper. So like if you're making, one thing that I used to make a lot was like a turmeric latte. Adding a crack of black pepper on there actually makes the turmeric more active, or the curcumin, whatever you want to call it. Or turmeric, I'll like sprinkle some on eggs, like in a kombucha in the morning. I mean, it doesn't really have that crazy of a taste, so you can put it anywhere. Multivitamins, vitamin D especially is super important. So actually not getting enough vitamin D can contribute to degeneration of your joints. So if you are not getting enough vitamin D, especially if you already are diagnosed or have arthritis, you need to make sure you're getting enough. And vitamin D is so good for so many other things, you know, obviously, great for your immune system, which is important right now more than ever. So absolutely want to make sure your multivitamin has vitamin D, because I have noticed that a lot of them do not. So, and the reason for that is vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin, which means that you can overdo it. So it binds to your fat tissue, so it could build up and become toxic if you took too much. So that's why it's not always in all multivitamins. And then the other thing is, if you are doing a multivitamin, make sure it doesn't have too much vitamin C. You know, sometimes you'll see on the vitamin label, it has like 5,000% of whatever. And it's like, why do I need 5,000%? Well, in this case, if you have too much vitamin C, especially with arthritis, that can make your symptoms worse. So something to be aware of. Glucosamine and chondroitin, especially if you're young, but for everyone, I recommend taking this if you're someone who lifts weights or is a runner. This is definitely something you want to be taking. So this is what's naturally found in your cartilage cells that is used to strengthen and stimulate the growth of your cartilage. So basically this just like goes in there and lubricates your joints so that you can just keep moving and grooving forever, right? So highly recommend you take this, but once again, this does have medication interactions. So as always, talk to your doctor about it. And then lastly, fish oil. So we talked about those omega-3 fish oils earlier. If you don't eat any of those foods, or maybe you don't eat them often enough, you absolutely should be taking a fish oil supplement. Another benefit of fish oil is that it actually promotes the metabolization of fat. So there's just like an extra like 2 cents to like encourage you to take it. So, and you know, some of you, your doctor might even prescribe a higher strength fish oil than what they even sell at the grocery store. So you could always ask your doctor about it, but they do sell these at the doctor's or at the grocery store, and they're, you know, they typically don't counteract with anything. So great supplement to take. Bone broth or gelatin, or well, the gelatin in bone broth. So I don't say gelatin because gelatin alone is not as highly nutritious as the gelatin found in bone broth. So if you don't know what bone broth is, it's essentially just a broth that's made by soaking animal bones, and it forms a layer of gelatin at the top if it's a very good bone broth. And this gelatin, when you consume it, it actually lines our digestive tract and repairs that gut lining. So especially if you're one of those people with the rheumatoid arthritis, if you're someone that eats a highly processed diet and you're trying to transition into a healthier lifestyle, I would highly recommend this. Like that 5-hour protocol I said before, you want to repair your gut before you can restore it. So once you can start consuming a healthier diet, lots of fruits and vegetables, none of that processed food, then I would recommend that you start taking this bone broth, drink it, as often as you can, and then you can restore with the probiotics, which are those live bacteria. It's a supplement, and that puts like the happy little good bacteria guys into your digestive tract. So when you have an imbalance, there's a lot of the bad guys in there, and they don't let the good guys in. And this causes that leaky gut. It causes depression, actually. It causes anxiety. It causes weight gain, increased cravings, stress, cortisol raise, all kinds of not fun stuff. So we want to make sure our gut health is in check. So I put over here the Garden of Life Primal Defense. That's a really good probiotic, just because I know people are always going to ask me for an example. And this Kettle on Fire bone broth at the top is one that they sell at most of the grocery stores, and that's like a really good bone broth. So you can literally drink it out of the box, or you could put it in any recipe you use. So like instead of chicken broth, you can use bone broth, and it tastes basically the same. I think bone broth is a little more flavorful personally. So these last two are less mainstream. I call it SAMe, S-adenosylmethionine. Some people believe this is as effective as NSAIDs. So there are some side effects, which is the same as, your medications your doctor might prescribe. I think some of the medications for arthritis, some of the side effects I've heard are like pretty awful. So, this does have insomnia, rash, and GI issues as a side effect, so something to be aware of. And then GLA. So, these are just two other options that are a little more natural, a little more gentle on your body that you can look into. So now we're going to talk about those foods that cause inflammation. So if you're eating all those amazing anti-inflammatory foods that we just talked about, but then you're eating all of these too, that's really one for one. They're kind of going to counteract each other, right? So, I'm not saying you can't ever have these things, but, moderation. Like red meat, I say once a week. Ideally, it's grass-fed, because, red meat is high in saturated fat, which is an inflammatory food. Okay? So, saturated fats are found in animal products, and we went over all this last week in our heart health presentation. But, they're in red meats, they're in dairy products, they're in baked goods, and actually like poultry skin. So if you get a rotisserie chicken from the store, make sure you're taking the skin off. And then trans fats are found in those highly processed foods. So think about French fries, Pop-Tarts, like frozen foods, fast foods, vegetable oils. One place I see trans fats hiding a lot is peanut butter. So that word there that's bold, hydrogenated vegetable oil, you're probably not going to see trans fat on a label. And it will probably say 0 grams of trans fat on the label, because if it's less than 0.5 grams, that means that they don't have to list it. So look for the word hydrogenated vegetable oil, which is in Jif peanut butter. It makes me so mad because people feed that to their children. So look out for that word. And it's also the other place I probably see it the most is salad dressings. Okay. And then simple and refined carbohydrates. So I wrote SAD because that's like the standard American diet. So, all those things on the right corner, like biscuits and cakes and burgers and fries and pizza, like that's really the standard American diet, which is highly processed and it has a lot of those rancid inflammatory oils in them. And what that does is it causes our body to produce advanced glycation end products, which basically just cause widespread inflammation in the compounds of that inflammation. So these are found in sugary foods, white flour, baked goods, white rice, bread, all that stuff. Once again, I'm never going to tell you can't ever have these things again, but it's just something to be aware of. And there's almost always healthier alternatives for these things. So like an example I can tell you right now, like I'm looking at my chart over here, mayonnaise is high in saturated fat. Well, I buy avocado oil mayonnaise. If I even use mayonnaise, usually I'll just like smash it. Like if I'm having tuna, I'll usually just smash up an avocado into it. But you can also buy avocado oil mayonnaise at the grocery store now it's by the brand Primal Foods. But yeah, they literally make it out of avocado oil instead of the canola oil that regular mayonnaise is out of. So you're still having the food you love, just a healthier version. And same with like white bread versus wheat bread. There's almost always a better option. You just have to be aware of what you're putting in, what you're eating. Added sugars and artificial sweeteners. So, you guys already know these cause inflammation. We're about wrapping up our month of the Rethink Your Drink Challenge, and the people that have been participating, I've had awesome feedback from. They're feeling amazing. They're losing weight. They have more energy. I mean, it's amazing. And even from the artificial sweeteners, I have one girl who was drinking she said like 5 to 7 cans of diet 0-calorie pop every day, and she's down like 8 pounds from cutting that out. So, you know, you think that they have 0 calories, but they actually confuse your brain and cause increased cravings in other areas. So always make sure you're reading your labels, because it's not just listed on the label as sugar. You know, there's high fructose corn syrup, there's pure cane sugar, there's organic cane sugar, there's, you know, as far as the fake sugars go, there's sucralose, there's aspartame. So, and, you know, I've sent out lists of all these different names, but obviously I can always resend anything you guys need or ask me any questions. But, you know, sugar is highly inflammatory. MSG. So this little guy does trigger inflammation, and actually some people have like what's called like the MSG myriad of like symptoms that causes headache and all kinds of negative side effects. So something to be aware of. I've always thought about this being in Asian foods. You go to the mall and the Asian food store says like no MSG on it, but someplace that I looked up the other day, I was looking at Chick-fil-A's ingredients in their chicken, and it actually has MSG in it. So that made me mad. And by the way, I always thought that Chick-fil-A was like the healthiest fast food restaurant. Like their chicken seems like it's pretty good quality, but if you look up the ingredients of the chicken online, you'll be shocked how many ingredients what you would think is just chicken has. So, but they're like, I think it was like their number 1 or 2 ingredient was MSG. So that's concerning. And then last is alcohol. So, and you can see some more MSG containing foods over here. For the average person, do you really need to worry about MSG? Not necessarily, but if you already have arthritis, this could definitely aggravate your symptoms. So you gotta keep your eyes peeled for that. So if you're trying to change and improve your symptoms or be aware of them, you know, there's a couple things I would recommend, but I would definitely recommend keeping some form of food journal. So I actually discovered on the Arthritis Foundation's website that they have this track and react thing where it's like a tracking tool and it gives you like advice and stuff like that. So that's kind of what these screenshots over here on the right are. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. You could keep a food journal where you're literally writing down, this is what I ate today, this is how I felt. Or it could be a photo journal where you take a picture with your phone and, you know, like write a note on it, or just write the note with the picture elsewhere. Either way. I do tend to find that like just taking a picture with your cell phone is much more easier than like writing things down. If you really want to make positive changes in your life and kind of learn to live without those symptoms, it is going to take that extra step of commitment of tracking your symptoms and being aware, because we talked about all the foods that cause inflammation that are known. Everyone's body is different. Your body might reacts negatively to almonds, and it might cause you inflammation. So it's different for everyone. And obviously, just to touch on this real quick, you know, weight management is important with arthritis. So you gain weight, that's more stress on your joints, which are already kind of breaking down. It's going to cause a lot more pain. So making sure you do physical activity, you know, like these water weights classes are great, especially if you have a lot of arthritic pain. I know that can be a really big barrier for a lot of people with arthritis. They are scared of having pain if they do try to work out, or they don't even want to bother because they're just anxious about that. So, you know, think of those low impact activities like walking or cycling or those water classes. Those are great ways to exercise. And then, you know, the Mediterranean style diet, which we also discussed in our last presentation, which is really just, you know, think of what they eat in like Greece, right? So like lots of fish, lots of nuts and olive oil and tons of fruits and vegetables, maybe a little bit of dairy, maybe a little bit of wine, maybe a sprinkling of red meat, but you know, that's really the gist of it. And that's going to be a really highly anti-inflammatory diet. And you know, I touched on this earlier, but the importance of reducing insulin in the body is paramount. So this is a component that a lot of people don't associate the two together. But if you eat a diet that's high in processed foods and simple carbs, that's going to cause that high blood sugar, high insulin, which causes that fat storage, right? Because insulin is a fat storage hormone, which then contributes to that visceral fat that contributes to the arthritis. So I know that's like a mouthful. That's like a big circle we went there, but just know that all of these things are interrelated. So that's what makes it really hard, is that, when you're hit with one of these chronic diseases or diagnoses, the rest kind of tend to go hand in hand with them. So no, I know it doesn't make it easy on you, but if you make small changes and know what motivates you, that's what's going to make the difference. So remember your why, remember why you're here, even listening to this presentation. You want to make a change. I know you do. I know you want to improve your pain and your symptoms and feel better, and get off those medications, ideally, if possible. So these are some great tips that you can do and try to include in your life. And obviously, I can work with you and help you figure that out. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Okay,
First,
Mr. J.
First, I want to thank you for a most incredible presentation. It just unbelievable. And the fact that it's recorded, we should encourage our associates that their family members, their wives, husbands, live-ins, parents should listen to it too, not just them. Two, I should say to Rob, who's new to our company, when Caitlin got on, she said she was in the medical field. I should explain, she was a neurosurgeon at the clinic and she quit to work for Famous, and we all appreciate that.
Oh, anything for you, Jay.
Well, okay, the next thing, Armin Ascari, who is our in-house genius on medicine, his father, Dr. Ascari, I believe, is the head of rheumatoid arthritis at university hospitals. And I'd like if maybe Mark or Kevin or something could send your presentation to both him and Armand for their information. By the way, there's also an omega-7 and 9. 7's hard to find, 9's easy. Don't know what they do. My doctors had me take calcium with D3, selenium, and folic acid, which I take every day, but they test you for what you have and don't have, and I had too much potassium, so I have to eliminate as much potassium. And the reason I mention it, sometimes when you go in to get a blood test, your doctor could ask these questions of what you have or don't have or too much. That could help. Afterwards, are we still going to have the spelling test that you give us all? We have to shut off the computer and remember how to spell all these words? Okay.
Not today.
Yeah, by
I'll
the
let
way,
you.
I had a former wife, and I said, we have to have more, olive oil and this oil. She says, I'll get you better oil. And she was feeding me motor oil for weeks before I found out what it was. It was not that healthy, I found out. The white rice hit me because I eat white rice. The Chinese live on white rice, never brown rice, and they seem to be healthy. That one I have a little confusion on.
I would guess the difference between that and the standard American diet is moderation. Chinese people live by some sort of saying, I forget the word, but it's like eat till you're 80% full. Americans eat till they're like 200% full. Like we're like, I'm full, I'm gonna keep going.
This week, Monday, I bumped into one of my customers, our customers in our garage as I was taking Ruthie to PT. I didn't recognize him. He lost 30 pounds in, I think, 5 weeks by going on a Mediterranean diet. So when he took off his mask, I saw who he was, and he said, oh, strictly the diet. One thing that I think people have to be careful of is eating grapefruit, because there's so many medicines and other things that grapefruit is the only thing that interferes with that, and they should know how to check that out as a warning.
Should say on your medicine, on your bottle label, hopefully.
You got to yeah, you're right, but a lot of times people
they don't read it. Yeah, I understand.
I know you have to do it. And again, I think the presentation was fantastic, and we should encourage everyone to listen to this a couple times. We're not all as smart as Jeannie. And right, Jeannie? Will you show it to Deb when you get home? Okay, she's nodding. Okay, so I want to thank you, thank you, thank you. This is one of the best presentations I've heard in maybe this week. No, in a
Oh,
long time.
wow.
No, in a
Wow. Setting the
long
bar high.
And when you're done with this, you could take your dog for a walk. I think he's trying to tell you something. Okay?
Okay, I will do that.
Okay. Hope all of you have a great day.
Well, thank you for joining me, Jay.
You're
And
welcome.
everyone else. Jeannie, did you learn anything new that you didn't know?
You asking me?
No, Jeannie.
Ask these other people.
No? I don't think I can hear her. She must not have a speaker. Okay, well, thank you for joining me.
Jeannie, you could be on mute all the time. It'd make our relationship better.
Oh, there's Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hey, Julie. Julie, go back to walking around the world. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Hey, Caitlin, I found this really helpful. So maybe like 3 years ago, I thought I had sciatica since high school. And I woke up one day 3 years ago and I couldn't walk. And every step was pain shot up and down my body. And I thought, what is happening? And after a bunch of scans and tests, and I got diagnosed with something called ankylosing spondylitis, which is like an autoimmune inflammation of the spine, whatever. And there's a gene for it, you know? And so after having just had KFC for lunch today and feeling now ashamed, it's like no wonder like I feel some days inflamed. And so I'm definitely going to work with you. And my husband actually had back pain last fall, went to physical therapy. And I said, go to the rheumatologist and get tested for this gene, see if you have it. He got diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis too. You can't transmit it between people. So we just both happen to have this crazy thing. So I'm going to be reaching out to you, and I'm just going to give you full control over my like grocery list and everything. So I'm very grateful for this presentation.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm telling you, she'll kill you.
Oh, Claude.
Jeannie had the same problem, so she just bought another pair of jeans. Anyway.
Yeah, and I live on a second story home, so I jump into them to get into them every day so I can fit into them. Right, Jay?
I was never there. When she's asking me if I watched her jump into her jeans in the second floor. HR would go crazy if I said
Oh,
that.
shoot. I was unmuted, but yes, I did learn some new things.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm back in my
I was
groove.
thinking of you. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. I actually didn't know a lot about this. Like I knew like like turmeric and stuff. I know a lot of the supplements since I used to work in the supplement section at a vitamin store. But yeah, a lot of like the other info was new to me as well. So this was a fun kind of topic to research. So anyway, thanks for joining, guys. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
You too. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thanks, Caitlin.